Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is John Paul Rai, and I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. First of all, today's shout out goes to Mr. Pete. Thank you for the recent comments and support. And today, we're going to get into why the Titty Monster is in The Last Jedi. First, we need to get one thing very clear. From evidence that we've been presented, we can at least assume that Kathleen Kennedy has feminist qualities. Whether you believe she's a full feminist or not, whether you believe she has an agenda or not, she has those qualities and apparently a mindset which is heavily based on gender. Also, we have to remember that there are social justice warrior elements in The Last Jedi. Those are pretty heavy, and what social justice warriors do is they try to correct things that went wrong with the past, apparently in entertainment these days. So, a few things that feminists and SJWs found wrong with the original Star Wars was Slave Leia. And this should be common knowledge to anybody who follows Star Wars news and theories that there are a lot of people out there who do not like Slave Leia because they feel it objectifies women sexually. But the one that is not so well known is that there are a group of people, I assume feminists because I've read in feminist papers about this, that they don't like the Padme birth scene. I didn't know that for a long time. And I read that it was cringy. Women didn't like it. They felt like women were only shown in Star Wars to reproduce. They also didn't like that Shmi Skywalker dies. So, we have an article that's titled something like, "Finally, women do more than die and give birth in Star Wars The Force Awakens." Pretty famous article. And there's also a scene in Attack of the Clones that's not as complained about as much, but, you know, Padme has this kind of little cleavage showing, a little bit too much showing when she's talking to Anakin. There's like this fireplace lighting, and they don't really like that one. So, they have a lot of complaints about women in Star Wars, and what social justice warriors do is they try to correct the past. So they look at the old movies and they say, hey, you know, women in Star Wars are objectified mainly by showing cleavage and, you know, sexy figures, so why don't we do this? In The Last Jedi, we're going to actually show breasts, but they're not going to be, you know, attractive, unbeautiful women. They're going to be milky and disgusting, and let's have Luke milk them. So, you know, those old trilogy fans are sitting there in the theater and going, oh yeah, now I gotta sit through this, and yeah, I guess, you know, this is the right thing to do. Women aren't objectified. So I would say that is the point of the Titty Monster. And when you think about it, why did they spend so much money on the Titty Monster? Why was it so important to them? Does anybody really think that this was a good plot point? Does anybody think that they thought this was a creative alien? Does anybody think that they thought this was actually going to sell tickets and be a popular toy? I think that Titty Monster was another thing put in there to spite the old fans. And I think the evidence for that is the way that Kathleen Kennedy, her story group, and the feminist social justice warrior mindset are. And that would make perfect sense to me. That would be a good way to correct the Star Wars of the past. Is instead of having the image of beautiful women, you have the image of, well, it's not a woman, but you have, you know, female body parts looking disgusting and nasty and milky that nobody wants to see. Does any women want to see that? I'm going to guess a big fat no. Alright, so let's get to Shmi Skywalker just for 1 second, and they claim that women aren't important, and I think what they mean is, because they specifically mention women don't use the Force in the original trilogy. Okay, so women aren't warriors. There's no arguing that. That's pretty much a fact. In the old Star Wars, well, I mean, Leia kicks ass in some scenes, but I'll give them that the women weren't really involved in lightsaber duels and the important fights when it came down to it. However, the women played very important roles, and Shmi's role wasn't important on the good side, but if Shmi didn't die, we would have a lot harder time understanding why Anakin turned to the dark side. So, over the years, I've had arguments with my friend about how, you know, Anakin turned too fast. And for a long time, I believed it too. I was like, yeah, you know what? Anakin did turn too fast. I wish there was more development. And I think a lot of people were thinking like, well, Anakin should have had this real gradual move to the dark side when it was never supposed to be gradual. If you think of the Emperor and his plan for Luke, what he says, something like, I'm so bad with quotes, like, strike your father down and take his place at my side. He didn't want to take Luke in to have Luke, stay at his side for years and eventually turn to the dark side. He wanted to do it, boom, right there and then. So the turn is fast. That's even in the movies. So, to top that off, having your mother die, and trust me, I know, there's no better reason for a character to turn evil. That's the best possible reason you could have for a character to turn evil. So, when you think about it, she serves a very important purpose. And without her, pretty much the main character of the entire saga needs a little more explaining. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think. Just to wrap my thoughts up in a neat little box, what I'm saying is if you look at Kathleen Kennedy and her story group, and you know that they have feminist and social justice warrior ideals, it's not too hard to imagine that the reason the Titty Monster was in there was to actually, A, kind of annoy the older fans who they think sexually objectified Leia, and also to kind of undo the notion in society that women in Star Wars are used as sex objects. I don't think they are. We have one scene with Slave Leia in 6 movies. I don't think that makes women sex objects in Star Wars in general. So, that's all I got on this. You guys let me know down in the comments what you think about that theory. I think it's got a very good chance of being correct. And if you'd like to subscribe here, please click that subscribe button. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks a lot for all the new commenters, and I will... Not the new commenters, the new subscribers. And I will not reshoot this because it's like the 7th, 8th, 9th time. See you next time.